Yeah, hi there. This is a completely unrehearsed, off-the-cuff video. It's basically a response to Seventh Cycle, who's done a video called Reevaluating Atheism - My Security Blanket. Okay, firstly, Seventh Cycle, I'm sorry for your loss recently. Okay, you've had people, passing on, and my thoughts are with you. Alright, but what you're doing when you're discussing the concept of God is slightly different to discussing something which is factual. I mean, this thing here, it's physical, okay? I don't believe it exists. I don't believe it exists. I don't need to believe it exists. Why? Because I've got hard, experiential evidence for it, okay? There's no belief required in that. If I was to turn around to you and say that between my fingers there's an invisible green gnome with a long beard, but he's invisible, but I believe he's there, that requires faith, okay? There's a difference. Faith, no faith. Okay? So, what is the basis for belief in the little green gnome? Nothing. No experiential evidence whatsoever. No scientific evidence whatsoever. That is pure belief. This, pure facts. Okay? Different kettle of fish. So as far as, is there a rationale for a belief in God based upon, hard physical evidence? No. There never has been, there never will be, and for people who say that there has to be, they are being pagan, they are being heathen, they are being sub-pagan and sub-heathen. They are being stupid. Okay? It's pathetic to assume that there is some kind of hard evidence. There's too many things that we don't know. Alright? If you say you want to believe something because it's a fact, then you don't know what the word belief means. Okay? When a person engages with a religion, do they do so because they've got hard experiential evidence? No. They've got faith. So then you got to ask yourself, why? What's in it for them? And then you got to realize that these are people who get some kind of benefit from it. What the faith is itself, well, it's a certain number of stories that they've chosen to look at, maybe through a suspension of disbelief. Or maybe they choose to become a part of the narrative through doing things on a daily, weekly, monthly, or annual basis, and doing things in a community. Now, I can't provide you with the original source, but I did read somewhere a study which said the people within religious communities are less likely to suffer from some forms of diseases, purely because of being a part of the community that is united with common belief or identity. Okay, so that there is some kind of tangible, scientifically measurable benefit, but does that connect to the objective existence of God? Of course not. Alright? I'm beginning to think that some of you atheists are actually being superstitious. You're definitely being irrational if you can't distinguish fact from belief. And I think you really need to think about that. What is the most compelling evidence for God? Well, there isn't any. Some people look at the, in inverted commas, creation and think, that's amazing. And then they choose to worship a concept, okay, which expresses the idea of all this stuff being created. That's for those who think in a creation-orientated way. Then there's other people who think of a character or a person or a personality and think, man, that's amazing. And they kind of like hero worship it. And from that you get the worship of Jesus Christ. Okay? And then there's others who would assume that there is consciousness everywhere. And I'm more that kind of person, really. Because I am. It doesn't matter. Okay? And therefore that will become part of the object of worship. Or adoration. Or the story would be about that thing. Okay? It's a story. Accept it. It's just a story. But from those three concepts, you essentially get the Trinity. And it's big, it's broad, it's complex. It covers lots of different things. Psychology, personality, literature, cosmology, a bit of everything. So there can't be like one small bit of evidence, even in Orthodox religion, for the existence of God. These are concepts which are used as an explanation for a hypothetical higher power or consciousness of the universe. But that's a hypothetical. But people who are in faith believe it does them some good. Seventh cycle, I just think you're someone who hasn't worked out where your own personal spirituality lies. I think you've been looking for something. But the intellectual mistake that you've made is that the sources you're looking at are those which are written by literalists. And literalists, you know, they're kind of like missing a bit up here. They don't have the full deck. So, explore the concept. Create for yourself a higher power that makes sense to yourself. Play around with it. And it doesn't matter whether it'll be the right one or the wrong one. But let that story evolve with you. Make it up as you go along. And who knows? You may reach a point in your life whereby you start to think it's doing you some good. It might take some time. But I believe you could get there. I believe it quite strongly.